Mai, Piki Mai, Kaki Mai, very warm welcome to councillors, to our guests, to our staff, to people watching online now or later. Welcome to our full council meeting, Hawke's Bay Regional Council. We have not a huge agenda, but a good agenda. Lots of interesting pieces to work through. I'm looking forward to your thoughts and contributions today. Mai Alfricado. I would like us to start with our new Karakia, please. The Ki Hora Te Marino, Mia Karakia Tātou.
Kia ora te marino, kia whakapapa porana te moana. Hei huarahi mā tātou I te rangi nei, aroha atu aroha mai, tātou I tātou katoa, ue tāie.
Kia ora, everyone. Housekeeping. The meeting's being live streamed on our Facebook page, recorded later to be viewed on the YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe, as Councillor Waitoa encourages us to do. If there's an earthquake, please drop cover and hold. If it's long or strong, we're going to leave through these exits and head up that hill, please. If there's an evacuation, we will have an alarm come off, and in that case, we can exit here or through the main exit out onto the grass on the other side, please. Toilets are located just down the hallway here to the right if needed. Apologies. We have apologies from Tanya Hopmans, please. Also from Councillor Van Beek, just acknowledging the very sudden loss in his family, so sending our thoughts and good wishes to his family over this time. Do we have any other apologies?
Better move, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. But any other apologies been received?
No.
No. Thank you. I'll second those. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, carried. Confirmation of our previous minutes, which you all have copies of. Are there any additions, corrections, matters arising that need to be dealt with? I'm happy to move those from the chair. Councillor McIntosh, happy to second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Very warm welcome in our public forum time to the Hawke's Bay Catchment Collectives. We saw you yesterday as well. It's a pleasure to welcome you to our formal meeting this morning. Andrew, Cynthia and Michelle, but I will ask you just to briefly introduce yourselves as well in your catchment, and then we look forward to your presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Would you like to go first?
Yes, Andrew Russell. I'm co-chair of Between the Two Rivers. My other co-chair is Rautaki. We're co-governed with Mana Whenua, hence we have two chairpersons.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Goodman. I'm representing Tuki Tuki Land here. My chairman, Richard Hilson, sends his apologies. We are 250,000 hectares along the Tuki Tuki River.
Good morning, I'm Cynthia Bowers. I'm the independent chairman of the Kairakau Community Catchment Collective, or KCCC as you'll hear it referred to as we go through our presentation. Thank you. So, please. Thank you for having us here this morning, and very conscious that you had to sit there and look at us yesterday afternoon as well. The purpose of being here this morning is to give you a good practical overview really of the work that catchment groups and catchment collectives are doing in Hawke's Bay. I'll make it clear right from the outset that we are not here asking for funding, and indeed we're not allowed to use this forum to do that anyway, but it might be of comfort for you to know that that's not what we're here for. So we're just going to go through our slides fairly quickly, just making it clear there that we are representing all of the catchment collectives and groups in Hawke's Bay. Yesterday, there was, you heard a lot about collaboration, community-led, those types of words. And what we wanted to talk about this morning is, in a practical sense, what does that mean? So what that means on the ground is that firstly we are independent as catchment groups. We are agile, we are nimble, and we are very responsive. And I thought the best thing to do this morning was to give you quick examples. So an example of our responsiveness, and I'll use a KCCC example, but B2R have done something very similar, and so have the Tuki group. Late in 2024, we were having a very, very dry season. It was looking as though we would be going into drought, although we didn't want to use that word and concern people. And so within a very short period of time, about 2 weeks, KCCC pulled together around about 10 experts, I think, held a workshop as it turned out, at the Puketapu pub, which is always a good way of getting people to come along, and gave the farmers there some really, really good information on how to handle the dry season and the drought should it eventuate. So that's sort of an example of the way in which we can be nimble and responsive. As it turned out in that situation, it rained the next week, so we felt as though we'd done our job really, really well. Oops, I've gone wrong here. Just want to reinforce to you that your key priorities are our priorities as well. And we're working in all of these areas now. I do want to just pause, though, to thank for the Regional Council for the work that you do with us. So your rural partners are invaluable to us, and many other teams and staff within the Regional Council, and we're very grateful for the support that you give us. As we mature as catchment groups and collectives, of course, we're looking to build and grow on that relationship with you. But the key message that I want to leave with you is these 3 priorities that we share. The first priority of land management, Michelle is going to give you a practical example of how we're doing that.
So after Cyclone Gabriel, of course, we had a lot of erosion throughout Hawke's Bay. Tuki Land Care hosted a workshop on growing your own poplar poles, which gave the opportunity for landowners to establish a small part of maybe non-productive land to establish their own nurseries and retain their independence from nurseries supplying poles. It was very well attended. Over 120 people came along. I know that several small nurseries have developed as a result of the workshop. It was a half-day workshop. Other catchment groups were invited. People came from all over Hawke's Bay. It was really solution-based. It was very practical and very well supported, showing a need for it.
Thanks, Michelle. Biosecurity, you have on your table a copy of the KCCC Biosecurity and Environment Plan. So talked about that yesterday, but that's there for you should you want to have a look at it. It shows you the framework that we are operating under. But a practical example of biosecurity and collaboration is the Tudokuri trapline project that we have operating at the moment. So KCCC, with advice from Regional Council staff, put in place a trapline which goes roughly from the Puketapu Motio Bridge, the new bridge, up to the confluence with the Mangaoni River on the northern side of the river. And just recently, B2R have come on board and they've put a trap line up their side of the river as well. So we have 10 kilometres of the Tātou covered with a trap line on each side. That's monitored and managed by volunteers. The results are recorded in Trap New Zealand. We're using that as a demonstration to other communities, really, as to how these trap lines can work. We've had a trap making workshop. We have a demonstration video on our KCCC website on trapping. So as with everything that we do at KCCC, there is a strong education aspect to whatever we're doing. And then the next priority of flood resilience, Andrew.
Yes, at B2R, we're in the process, we've been going for about a year in restoring Lake Runanga, which has become basically a dead lake. And we're doing that in conjunction with the Runanga Hapu. They are leading that project, but also there's a governance group separately formed, which is managing that process, which is doing things like willow control, and which is going to hopefully unclog the lake and let water go through it and not head down and damage your new stop bank. And we had a wānanga at Runanga Marae about 10 days ago where they were making floating wetlands, and that was involved some schools. And so that's been a real glue to bring this whole, mana whenua and the wider community together, and it's going really well, and we're in the process of seeking more funding to keep that project going.
So as you can see, those are just 3 examples of the work that catchment groups are doing. The list on those slides, and you have a copy of them, the list is long of the other areas that we're working in under those 3 key priority headings. So something for you to look at your leisure, but it's just representative of a lot of activity. I won't go through this slide a lot either, because we talked about most of it yesterday, but I do want to make reference to the Hawke's Bay Catchment Alliance that we talked about. That has got huge potential for Hawke's Bay and for the environment. I talked about it yesterday, the fact that we're investigating forming that alliance. The shape of it will be determined by consultation, which is yet to happen, and it needs to be tested by a business case as well. But it is likely to involve shared services and a lot of other areas as well, and the potential for it is absolutely exciting. One quick example for you. Most of the catchment groups are doing water monitoring of some shape and form, and at the moment we're just all recording those results, collecting the data, using it ourselves, but it's not going anywhere in a wider sense. We think that there's a really good opportunity with that alliance to collect the data from all of the catchment groups throughout Hawke's Bay and start plotting it, making it accessible, using it to supplement the water monitoring and testing that Regional Council are already doing, and get ourselves a really comprehensive overview of water quality throughout the region. That's just one way in which we can make our case stronger, I think, through the alliance. But as I say, there will be consultation, and a whole lot of other exciting ideas will come out of that, I'm sure. We talked yesterday about some of the funding challenges that we have, and I've made it clear to you that we're not here to ask the Regional Council for funding. We do hope, though, at some point in the future, we will be able to find ways for us to expand the offering, work more closely together, and obviously that could involve perhaps project funding coming from the Regional Council, but we're not here to ask for that at this stage. What we do need, and we talked about this yesterday as well, we need you to advocate on our behalf, because we can't put the good work that we're doing at risk. And so I know that the Chair and Councillor Rodley and others are active in Wellington lobbying for us, and we would encourage you to continue to do that. In my time working in the community, and it goes back 30 years now, I've never seen communities as energised as they are now with catchment groups. We used to battle away at it when I was on Hastings District Council, but never really made the connections, I think, and got the energy that catchment groups have been able to achieve. We lose that at our peril, and that is why we need the whole community advocating on our behalf, because it's a model that's working. It is really successful. And so we look forward to working together more through our alliance out into the future, re-looking at really what our value proposition is, looking at what our value proposition would be if we were working more closely with the Regional Council along the lines that Rachel and Richard presented yesterday. We know that we've got a really exciting future. We're excited by what we're achieving so far, and we're only in a pretty much development stage at the moment. There's a lot more that we can achieve, and we really look forward to developing that, taking it further, hopefully alongside the Regional Council. So thank you.
Thank you. As Cynthia mentioned, we workshopped yesterday, public workshop, a lot of this work. I might ask our Chief Executive just to sort of give a high-level picture of where we're sitting in relationship at the moment. We don't usually have questions at public forum, but if there was a particular burning question, one question, you can prepare it and let me know if someone wants to ask. But otherwise, could you give us a bit of a picture, Nick, on where our role is in this?
Look, I think there's a huge opportunity for us to continue to strengthen and grow those operational relationships. It's really wonderful when you get the opportunity to work with parts of the community with the same mission and goals, and I think that's really valuable. I do wonder, Chair, if there might be value in the catchment collectives and yourself and some councillors meeting with Catherine Wedd and Katie Nimmin together to express the value of us working collectively in the region, particularly as we head into the election period and post-election. So, and maybe alongside that, consider whether there is a joint letter to the relevant ministers from both the Regional Council and the collective chairs as some outcomes from this meeting.
Yes. Councillor Curtin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not a question, but I've got a comment. And thank you so much for coming along. It is a collaborative relationship, more important now than it's ever been. And Cynthia, you mentioned, if you like, the at-risk nature of catchment work being swamped, if you like, by enthusiastic reform. It couldn't be more important that we maintain a close connection. We support each other in telling those that are looking at reform how important that is. Just by way of diversion, Madam Chair, just to acknowledge Cynthia who's made a tremendous contribution, as you mentioned, being on the Hastings District Council for how many terms? It was a tremendous effort.
21 years.
21 years, our deputy mayor, and I can't go and leave your partner out, Ewan McGregor, who I sat next to for a number of terms. You couldn't get a more enthusiastic person in regard to land management than Ewan, and we need to, in my view, protect that legacy going forward and make sure we don't lose it. So thank you all for coming. We look forward to doing lots more business over the next 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Curtin. Really appreciate you making those acknowledgements. You happy to move to receive?
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Whitehour. Thank you very much. Well, nothing more needs to be said. A real pleasure to see you again, and thank you for all the work you do and your volunteers, and that we ask you pass back to your volunteers how much we appreciate what's going on in that space. We agree with you. It's the future. We know that. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any against? Carried. We're going to move into decision items. We're adopting our strategy under 5.1, and I'm going to ask, it's Desi, is it? Desiree and Abilene, please, to join us. And I'll ask our Chief Executive to open up the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Firstly, can I just say a huge thank you to you as councillors. One of the priority pieces of work in our Fit for Future programme was to get a strategic document out and completed early in the term to be that North Star, or perhaps in this hemisphere, the Southern Cross, for this organisation as we head into long-term plan. And really appreciate the feedback from councillors, your ideas, and hopefully this document captures those and I think builds on the priorities that you had as well in the last Triennial. Also really conscious as we go into this time of uncertainty with central government, being really clear what our priorities are and where our value proposition lies as an organisation is going to be really important. So just a huge thank you for the work that Council has done, working together with the team internally to get us to this point, and I'll let the team take it from there, Chair.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Yeah, we're really happy with how it's come together. As Nick said, that's in no small part based on the clear direction and commonality of your feedback in the 2 direction setting sessions we've had to date. It, as Nick said, builds on the past term, but I think really does push it a bit further, and it builds a really nice foundation for us as staff to go and build some discussion documents and further collateral to engage with the community on what it is that we do and why it's important. And as you saw yesterday in the workshop, we've got quite a cohesive plan, marketing plan to build that awareness, understanding and action that they can take to be part of those conversations. That's all I was going to say. I'm happy to take questions.
Questions, yes. Thank you. I'm loving the way the document looks, thank you, and I see all our feedback incorporated into it, I think, in a perfect way, but very happy just to take clarifications or questions to the staff at this point. Excellent. So we can just move on to comments or ideas, or rather than questions. Are there some comments? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh.
I think you could take the silence as a very positive sign. Yeah, it's. I think for me, the most important part of this is page 5 of the document itself, page 12 of our paper. That is the thing that we need to keep zeroing in on, and it's going to be the component of it that's most read and understood by the consumers of this information. So, so well done. Good result.
Other comments? Councillor Rodley?
Not so much a comment, but just some wording things I wonder if I could raise with you after offline, please, Desi.
Happy to move the paper, Councillor Roadley?
Love to move the paper,
Love
thank
to
you,
move the
Chair.
paper. Councillor Parsons would love to second it.
Absolutely.
Want to make some comments on the paper as in a general sense?
Yes, fantastic to see this come together so succinctly. Congratulations. It is very difficult to wrangle so many important ideas and distill them down into what is a very concise document, so appreciate that. I find the layout really easy to read and attractive, so thank you for that also. Fabulous to actually, what we've been talking about this, it feels like it literally is months and months. So to see it, so three main things with those incredibly important, the climate and the financial pieces wrapped around it, and combining that with the plan of how we're going to share this with our community is a really exciting time to be in, and I'm really looking forward to the work progressing in each of these priorities and seeing how they shape the mahi that we do on the ground with our communities, in our environment, for flood risk, for water security, and for our land and water health. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roadley. Councillor Parsons?
Probably don't really need to add very much, do I? Because you've spoken so well. But, I have to say congratulations too. I think when you've got something so clear and simple, it's easy to sell, and that's what we should be doing now. You've done your job. Now it's up to us to really get it out there and sell it to the community, to ourselves, and really believe it, live it, and it'll work. It'll happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parsons. Any further comments? No? Thank you. Mover and seconder. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to the Chief Executive for pulling it together exactly as we asked for. 5.2, we're moving to the terms of reference for the Māori committee. I will come back to Mike Paku. Welcome, Mike Paku, and welcome, Councillor Ormsby. I will come back to you, but just a reminder of the framing as we set the committees after the election. We held off the Māori committee terms of reference for a further discussion on where this would be how it would be most appropriately configured. There's been further conversation since then, and we've brought this paper back. I might ask Mr. Paku to make a few comments before I pass to you, Te Wairama. Yeah. Kia ora, Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so I think the councillors can appreciate, and I think I appreciate where the councillors are in regards to this particular committee and the re-establishment with its terms of reference, and given the fact we have our RPC committee as well, and so it's if you like, where does the future stand with these two committees? I have in the past always indicated that at some stage we're going to have to come together as Māori and determine that for ourselves as to how these two committees go forward, and if there's the ability to bring these two committees together. I do believe that the timing is right for that conversation to take that deep dive. Given the results of the referendum in regards to our Māori ward seats, and given the fact of recent central government announcements around regional councillors and their longevity. In saying that, it's where the two, if you like, where does the mandate sit to people to have those conversations? So in order, if you like, for the Māori Standing Committee to undertake those conversations with the RPC, first and foremost must need a mandate to undertake those conversations. So for me, re-establishing the committee now creates the mandate, now allows us to step in and start to have those conversations amongst ourselves and determine for ourselves our own mana motu hake, using our own tino rangatira processes as to, if you like, shaping that space for ourselves. It isn't unique what has been asked for. To a certain degree, Hastings City Council has already got there. It has a combined committee of Tai Whenua, post-employment entity groups and Ngāti NIWE Incorporated. We have all those elements currently within the two committees. I think it's just a matter of us being having the opportunity to sit down, rangatira ki tā rangatira, and working our way through and understanding the benefits and the value that we can add by actually bringing those committees together, not only for ourselves but also for the council and for the wider community. So hence the reason why I'm supportive of seeing this re-establishment of the Māori Standing Committee, Madam Chair. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Te Wairama.
Thank you, Chair. Morena koutou councillors, as our Chair has already framed for us this morning. This morning we seek Council's decision to adopt the terms of reference for the Māori Committee as it is. By way of background, and it is included in your paper, at the introduction of the Resource Management Act in 1991, this council, Hawke's Bay Regional Council, and tangata whenua came together to form a meaningful relationship and determine a mechanism for how we would enable participation in Māori decision making. 35 years later, we arrive here today, and Hawke's Bay Regional Council sits amongst one of the first councils in Aotearoa to establish a Māori Advisory Committee, and I think that's something for us to be really proud of here at Council. What is unique in our context here in Te Matua Māui, and as described by Mr. Paku just now, is we have seen an evolution of Māori political landscape here in Te Matua Māui. We now have 9 post-settlement governance entities sitting within the area of interest of Hawke's Bay Regional Council, some of which only settled in 2021, so we are quite new in our evolution of that. The Māori Committee and its current structure in terms of reference enables a participation system that brings voices of marae hapu through tai whenua structures here in Kahungunu to these tables to have those conversations alongside us and participate in that decision making. The terms of reference at current call on membership through the bodies of tai whenua represented across Hawke's Bay, so from tai whenua o Te Wairō, in the Kahungunu Executive Body in Wairoa through Te Tai Whenua o Te Whanganui o Orotu, which is here in Ahuriri, representing Seven Marae here in Ahuriri, through Te Tai Whenua Heretaunga, and through Te Tai Whenua o Tamatea, along with a representative from Ngāti Kahungunu Iwi Inc. And the recommendation today is that we establish the terms of reference and the membership as it exists in its current state. I think additional to that, we will seek Council's feedback on councillors to appoint to the Māori Committee. The terms of reference at current enable appointment of up to 4 councillors. Thank you. Happy to take questions if there are.
Kia ora. So questions for Te Wairama, not comments at this stage or appointments, will come to that in discussion, but questions on the paper or the terms of reference. Thank you, Councillor McElroy.
Chair, kia ora, Te Wairama. It's either you or probably Mike. I just got a question on number 6 on your paper there. When during my time in the Māori Committee, 5 years, we had co-chairs and it just specifies chairs here. Do you not have co-chairs anymore, Mike?
We term it as co-chairs. I do notice it does say deputies, chair, deputy chair. Yeah, but it has been co-chairs
For a while.
for the last two rotations.
Tēnā koe, Councillor McElroy. I'll take that as an error in the paper. It is co-chairs in the terms of reference. I'll
Make that amendment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the paper, and then we'll come to discussion on appointments? Happy to move. Thank you, Councillor McElroy. Councillor Hawke to second. Thank you very much. Before you speak to it, perhaps you can speak at the end. Let's have a conversation. We did talk after the election about the appointments to this committee, but I felt it might be good to just open that up today to see if there were people who now a little bit further into the term might wish to volunteer for the committee or have a real desire to be on it, and we could work that way rather than an appointment process. So I thought I'd just open it up to see who was looking to go onto the committee, and we'll go from there.
I'd definitely like to, Madam Chair.
Councillor McElroy would like to, yep. Councillor Kuklinski has confirmed to me that he is interested in that as well.
Who was that?
Councillor Kuklinski.
Sorry.
Don't all rush.
Yeah, yes, I'm happy to go on.
Thank you. Obviously, I would like to as well if there wasn't More, okay. So that's 3, but we can have up to 4, so there is another seat available. Councillor Hokianga? Everyone happy with that? Yes? Okay. Councillor McElroy, would you like to speak to the paper?
Oh, kia ora. The Māori committee, that was my first introduction to the regional council as the Kahungunu executive representative from Wairo, and what I quickly learned is it was a great opportunity to bring any environmental issues from cultural perspectives and concerns, and I think it was a really great engine room for discussion around that and looking at solutions, and sort of you're given the opportunity, Mike, to sort of see what's happening within the regional council, especially around the Tātou. And I think it's really important that we maintain that relationship with our whānau, and I'm really pleased that my fellow councillor in the Māori seats, our last trio, right? Since they're getting rid of us. So yeah, all the way. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you for your comments, Councillor McElroy. Councillor Hokianga?
Through you, Chair, tēnā tātou, tēnā koe te hea mana o te komiti Māori, e Mike, ko kaha ki te whakamōhio mai kia tātou, he hanga paenga ki roto i tēnei kōwhiringa komiti. Tēnā no ki koe mea mōhiotanga ki te tāpiri atu i ngā rongoa kia tātou me pēhea te hanga whakamua. Ko reira tēnā koe, tēnā tātou. Just acknowledging the 35 years that the committee's been in existence, and I think, coupled alongside the 1991 RMA, I think this committee's seen many challenges and reforms from successive governments, and so I think it's incredible that we've got a committee that's come this far in the process and made major contributions, and there are very little spaces where we get the Māori community intelligence coming to the table and being able to share from and shoot from the hip of not just what the issues are at place, but also what the solutions are. So I think a major contribution, and I'm looking forward to the way the committee shapes up and makes further contribution, galvanised by a wider conversation with our RPC, our post-settlement entities, and I think it's a great opportunity to work more efficiently within local government, especially us here at Hawke's Bay Regional Council. The example that Mike has shared with us relating to Hastings District Council having this in place, I think simultaneously we too can reap the benefits of the contribution. So, koe rano, and celebration of 35 years is something worth celebrating. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora, thank you for your comments. Further comments, Councillor
Can we take
Rodney?
comments?
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
Just to acknowledge Mātua Mike for the work that you've done, and congratulations on restanding up this committee. I think with the changing landscape, literally like quicksand underneath our feet, I think it's more important than ever. And absolutely acknowledging Councillor Hokianga that over the 35 years you've faced those shifting sands admirably, and I'm sure will continue to do so. And it's actually with deep regret that I can't join the committee. I am somewhat overcommitted in other places, but look forward to hearing the voices from this pathway into the council table. And so, my congratulations and thanks to you and your team and Te Wairama for getting this back up and running. So well done.
Councillor Curtin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just doing a little bit of quick arithmetic there. I think it's 2/3 of that period of time that have either been associated or sat on the Māori committee. So Hawke's Bay, the region, can be proud that we have been one of a smaller number of local councils or regional councils that have embraced the need for this arrangement to be in place. We've had a significant level of maturing over that period of time, but I can't think of a more appropriate place for Māori and the acknowledgement of treaty concerns than a regional council forum. And I say that because I'm somewhat of a contract concerned person. I see it as an agreement with words on it that must have some sort of meaning, whether you contest them or not. But some of those words around, if you like, undisturbed possession of particularly awa resonates with me, and what is the mechanism by which that contract can be fulfilled. And I think the Māori committee over that time has fulfilled that obligation well. We have a complex scenario developing with the post-treaty settlement groups, but I've learnt a lot that there are different constituencies involved. That is not a simple Māori are already at the table, so why would you want something in addition to that? My perception of it now, having learnt that over a period of time, is that that position is well fulfilled by mechanism of the Māori committee and its constituents. What I would suggest, though, as, if you like, some guidance for the Māori committee over the next 12 months in particular, is to ensure that the place and contribution that it makes is not lost. That's under a lot of duress, a lot of pressure from those that have not experienced the contribution over a long time, Mike. So I suggest that the focus ought to be telling the story, ensuring that the narrative and the voice is heard, and that whatever structure goes forward, that is retained. And I think that ought to be, if you like, an overriding prerogative and direction for the Māori committee. It was certainly what I'd urge, is to take every opportunity to tell that story, celebrate that success, and make sure that's acknowledged in any new structure that comes about. So, Madam Chair, very happy to support the re-establishment of the Māori committee and its terms of reference.
Kia ora, thank you, Councillor Curtin, and I really appreciate your comments pulling together the threads of the history, the treaty, the different partners and the different ways in which tai whenua, PSGs, mana whenua fit together around the structures that we have, and I think that was a really good explanation of the value that this provides and the way in which we need to use it. So I really appreciate your comments. Thank you. Councillor Ormsby.
Kia ora, thank you, Chair. Tautoko ngā mihi, kua mihia kia koe Mike, ki te komiti Māori, mō ngā tautoru tekau rima, kua pahure, kia kauha tonu tātou katoa i tēnei wā, mō te taiao, mō te iwi Māori, nā reira, tēnā tātou katoa. Just want to acknowledge Mike and the committee for their work over the last 35 years. And how strong they've been for our taiao. So I'm happy, Chair, to move the recommendations as they are 1 to 6, just noting that it should state in 6 the committee co-chairs, and that the appointee councillors be Councillor Sears, Councillor McElroy, Councillor Harding and Councillor Kuklinski.
Councillor Harding?
Oh, sorry, Sears, McElroy. Oh, Hokianga. Do you know that's my scribbles on the paper? Aroha mai, Councillor Hokianga. Kia ora, Anne.
Kia ora, thank you, Councillor Ormsby. But actually, we've actually already been moved by Councillor McElroy and Hawkeanga.
Okay, well, awesome.
But
yes, and the
but
co-chair.
please, the addition to recommendation 6 to co-chair, you've got that in here. Thank you very much. Any other comments? No? So moving, as Councillor Ormsby said, 1 to 6, we've amended that to co-chair. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Te Wairama. Item 5.3 is the annual freshwater science charges. We have Megan and Chris. Chief Executive, did you want to make any comments on this? No. Quite self-explanatory. Thank you. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Morena councillors.
Morena.
This is a fairly standard paper that we've had for a number of years now. As part of our freshwater science charges, we have a charge of $250 to about 300 consent holders for monitoring of low flows in rivers that have that stipulation in their consents. The charge is based on actual and reasonable, or the costs that we actually incur. As we get through the year and we find that we haven't incurred as many costs as we initially thought that there was going to be, we bring a paper to you to say we're offering a discount on those so that we're only going to collect about 34% of the $250, so $85 per consent holder. That covers the expected actual costs that will be delivered. So we'll have a lower income but lower expenditure, so no bottom line effect.
Thank you. And Chris, just to confirm to the table, this does happen every year. We picked it up last year as well, and of course particularly happens in years where there's been higher river flows.
Yes, if there are low river flows, we probably wouldn't bring this, and the $250 charge, which is in our fees and charges schedule, would stand for that year. But in years where we haven't needed to do as much monitoring, we will bring this paper.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Questions? Councillor McIntosh.
So it's quite a good news story, albeit a reasonably small one. But do we make a bit of noise about this and tell the public that this, well, obviously tell the affected parties, but does the public get to know about this via a media release or something like that?
No, we just include it when we send out the new invoices for those that are affected. It affects about 300 ratepayers, consent holders.
I think it's, quite a good thing to talk about because so often we get it in the net for the opposite reasons, and this is a good news story.
Yep. Yes. I will mention it to our comms team as to whether this is something they can put up.
Any other questions? Councillor McElroy?
Not so much financial questions. I mean, if it makes sense that it's because of you've automated it now, so you don't physically need to go down and monitor so much. But you're monitoring the flow, the river flow, because it is low due to over allocation. Am I correct in saying that? So if the rivers are under pressure, so you're monitoring because of over allocation, you're monitoring because too much water is taken. So those users are paying because they're the ones that are taking the water. So I'm just trying to understand in the over-allocation of catchment, how do these fee reductions strengthen the freshwater health rather than just lower costs for users who are causing the issue? I don't think it's a financial question. That's sort of a whole governance question, really. Are we compensating the people actually taking the water that are putting the awa in that?
Thank you, Councillor McElroy. It's a little bit out of scope of this paper, but I'll ask the Chief Executive just to bring a picture to that. Thanks.
I think to help that question, Councillor McElroy, agree out of scope of the paper, but low flows in rivers are caused by many things, including the climate. So when we get very dry years, we end up with low flows. The tank process has been in place to try and deal with over allocation. I think the real test we have to apply here is that under the RMA, charges have to be, if I get the words right, fair and reasonable. And so we need to make sure that in levying them, we are fair and reasonable. And in years where we don't have to do as much monitoring because the climate is kinder, we need to consider a rebate.
Rebate. Yes, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Roadley.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Thanks, team, for that. It's possibly rhetorical because I know you're way smarter than this, but I know that when we, that's quite a variation between the proposed and the expected. Have you considered, so I'm just thinking if I was the payer of that bill, 1 year it's $80, 1 year it's $250. Have you looked at smoothing so that we've got sort of more of a steady expectation from our users that it's going to be roughly around this much rather than these quite extreme costs? I'm sure there's a reason why you don't do that, so could you fill that in?
Yeah, through you, Chair. As our Chief Executive just mentioned, the RMA requires us to be billing in each year around fair and reasonable costs and recovering costs that we have incurred. And because there is specific expenditure and activity around this, we do need to set the fees and charges at the start of the year at the level that we expect to have to spend if we need to monitor fully. And then before we issue the invoices for that year, we bring this paper to reduce it. So people are not paying up front for this. This is a reduction for the invoice that will now go off to them. So effectively, they will pay $85 rather than $250.
Which I'm sure they're excited about, as opposed to the year when they get a $250 bill. Have we, historically, had payers of this fee? Have we had any feedback when it has been an expensive year that this is, unexpected and pushback because it's seemed to be a big jump in cost?
As far as I can recall, I think in the first year I was here about 4 years ago, we didn't do a rebate on it, and I can't remember any comments that came back specifically about the low flow meters charges.
Thank you.
It's mostly a small amount anyway, I'm guessing.
Yep. Correct. Yeah. And about 300. Any other questions? I'm happy to move the paper from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Have you a second? Thank you. Councillor Roadley. No comments from me. Any further comments from you? Further comments? No? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Item 5.4, operating reserves to fund operational expenditure. Thank you, Chris. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
I'll pass straight to you.
Thank you, and I've got the finance team here to support. I guess why are we here? Very broadly, a lot of our drainage and flood resilience schemes operate under targeted rates. Most of those targeted rates have an operating reserve. The purpose of that operating reserve is to smooth out the year-to-year maintenance investments. Some maintenance is not done every year, and so it allows a smoothing, as we were just discussing, rather than the budget being different every year. Part of our financial policy is when we go to draw from those operating reserves, that's a council decision, so that's why we're here today for a decision. There's a few things obviously going on, and we go through the detail of each of those schemes, but high level, we've introduced a new maintenance management tool which gives us a lot more visibility over the maintenance, and we have a lot more transparency in our reporting. So every maintenance task is specifically charged against the scheme, and we can be very confident that the expenditure against the scheme is the actual expenditure to the scheme. We've had some increased tasks through, for example, spraying of willows. So post Gabriel, there's a huge expansion of willows through the rivers because willows break off and then the little bits root and then they grow. So there's some additional costs there. We've had a pretty wet start to this year, although it was dry at the end of last year. We've had 4 wet weather events or major wet weather events already between Christmas and now. That means we're also cutting weed, and so costs around removing weed, etc., working through weekends, 24-hour work, all adds to the budget expenditure. The other thing that's not in here when we look at escalation of our maintenance budget since 2021, I'm advised that Our maintenance budgets have only been escalated by 5.7%, so that's around 1% per year. CPI is running, I think, at 18%. Construction index is probably in the low 20s, and power costs have increased by 30% over that. So we've got all of those factors competing as well. So I'll probably take the rest of the paper as read. We go through each of the schemes. Some of those operating reserves are in deficit, so we're proposing to take them further into deficit, and that's so we can do the essential maintenance that is required, with a view that we have a very good look at all of our rating for our targeted schemes in the LTP and can make some appropriate decisions going forward to ensure that that essential maintenance is fully funded. There is always an element of planned and unplanned maintenance, and our mission in the asset management group is to ensure that as much of that maintenance is planned, because that's the most efficient way to do it, but there is always that component of unplanned maintenance. So probably happy to have questions and a bit of a discussion, and we'll just work through the rest of the paper.
Thank you, Chris. It's a really great paper. It's really clear. There'll be questions, I'm sure, but just for clarity, you're asking to use this budget in this financial year, and you have capacity to deliver on that within financial year. Then you've talked about long-term plan, but have the budgets been considered then for 26, 27 to bridge in here, because we'll probably meet the same problem, so we can come to discussion about that. Okay, so this is just 25, this is just
So this is
1st
just
of July.
for this financial year. Yep.
Financial year. Okay, questions? Councillor Parsons.
I've probably got a couple of questions, actually. The first one is in regards to, like, for example, Esk River, the committee that they have there for the river. You're proposing the 15K that comes from targeted rates. Do you go to the committee to ask them what they want that money spent on, or have you made the decisions for them?
So a couple of things on that is, so that's an informal committee. It's not a formal committee of council. So some schemes in other areas of New Zealand have formal committees who sign off work programs, etc. So that's not the form of the S committee. They are met with regularly with the team who provide their input, but ultimately the team make the decisions on where that money is invested. So some of the work around dealing with mature trees, etc., is feedback from the community, and so that goes into the funding decisions.
Supplementary, so that, because I'm thinking something that I'm quite motivated about is that we involve the community, because they're the Johnny on the spot, they know what's needed, especially after the flood.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that whether they're informal or formal committee, they're a gem that we should be utilising and asking for their input.
Yeah, absolutely. So that occurs. I'm just articulating who is the final decision maker and accountable. That sits with the regional council, but we do meet with that committee and they do provide input into what they want. At the moment, it reflects the work that's being done. In the past, they've requested more riparian planting and other things like that, so that's where the money has gone. So we do meet with them, they do provide input, and it does influence the work program. Sometimes there's a gap between what the community would like to see and what we can achieve, and that's reflected in the relatively low budgets of that scheme.
Councillor Rodley.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Chris, as you know, and I've spoken to you before about how sick I feel about using this type of funding for this purpose. When I look at the trend that we're seeing, particularly with the Ohoia scheme, and we're driving it into 161,000K deficit for a scheme that we know you and I both understand that what the future is around that scheme, or where we'd like it to move to. Are we just not driving a peg into something that's becomes completely we're unable to deal with? I think the principle here that I am sort of picking at is that it's very much, these schemes were set up as a user pay. We're seeing that we're in other areas, for example, the Clive River dredging, where the amount put in now doesn't meet what it needs to, and so the work can't progress. Here we're seeing a debt being accumulated by a very small group of people are going to have to meet that debt through their targeted rates, and it's just becoming to an unattainable level. And I'm very concerned that we're actually shifting what is a target rate designed to do a specific job into a space where it can never be paid for by the people at place. And then I'm kind of, so in para 20, where we've got this opening surplus of 1.8 million, kind of scratching my head going, well, how do these two ideas join together? So maybe it's a bit of a question for you, Chris, around what you're thinking there, and then maybe other Chris around how these numbers stack up together, please.
Yeah. So first, let's talk through an Ahuia example, which
I don't specifically mean if we could keep it a little bit more high level.
So we'll just keep it high level, as
yes,
in a small, low cost scheme.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, look, one of the challenges we have as an organisation is those schemes generally commit a level of service. So there's a defined level of service that we should be delivering. Our goal as a professional organisation is to understand what is needed to deliver that level of service, and we strive to meet that level of service. There is a risk, is if that we don't meet that level of service and people suffer a loss, that we open ourselves to litigation. So the team is working very hard on ensuring that we deliver our level of service, and we've previously presented papers on schemes that don't deliver levels of service for council decisions. So here the team is saying, this particular year, to continue to deliver the level of service that the scheme participants expect, this is the sort of money that we need to spend. And as I outlined earlier, the buying power of our maintenance budget has certainly eroded over time. That's one of the key drivers. So we're faced as operators with two choices. One is we just manage to the budget and perhaps don't manage to the level of service, but we need to inform council that that is the case, because ultimately council is the decision makers and setting those levels of service with the community. So we're not able to just make a unilateral decision that we're only going to spend the budget knowing that we're not going to deal with blockages, we can't meet the power payments to First Light or whatever. So that's why this paper is coming here. It's outlining the sorts of things that we need to do in that scheme to maintain a level of service. But if there's a decision that we shouldn't be spending that money, then we can come back with more detail of the risk. But the risk is that the infrastructure won't operate as intended, and so that's the purpose. And so that's true of many of our small schemes. Budgets don't necessarily lead to the agreed outcomes.
Correct. I wonder, Madam Chair, if we could maybe ask our Chief Executive to bring a discussion around actually this piece before we move into annual plan, because I think we really need to understand our levels of service that we've agreed to, particularly many of these schemes have been set up for a long time, and they're not meeting the requirements of operating functionally for that community, but it's also being shifted out of who pays.
I think that was the question I was asking around the 26, 27, because this will get picked up in the LTP, but I think if you can come back to us with some ideas.
Maybe before that, so we're actually really thinking through this balance.
How we would deal with that for annual plan. Yeah, I understand your question.
Can I extract my request to you then, Chris?
Okay.
Other Chris, and we'll deal with it
Thank you.
through another pathway.
Councillor Curtin and then Councillor Whitehall. Councillor Whitehall.
Kia ora, Chair. Kia ora, Chris. Begin. Just for me, I'm just looking at confirmation of what the council is approving. So on page 24, recommendation 3, it rounds to 718,000, split with the 554 and the 164. But then when I go to table 1 on page 26, it's 718,601, funded by the 554,697 from our operating service reserves, and then 163,904 from our general rate. So these are, I'm just wanting to know, I know we've rounded up, but in our recommendation, should we not be using what's in our table? Because that's what I look at when I'm looking at these reports.
Through you, Chair, there was an oversight on my part, and the figures that are in the recommendation should be the 718,601, 554,697 and 163,904 to reflect exactly what's in the table below.
Thank you. We'll amend that.
And just a second
Yes,
question,
yes.
just around Muddy Creek, page 26 table, the op reserves are 55,946 plus general, which is 6216. But on page 27, number 37, staff recommendation is reserve ops 54990, and our ops are 6110. It doesn't match the table. It actually looks like the Ropare Twyford numbers repeated. So page 27 or page 26 on table 1, the ops reserve 55946, and then page 27 we got recommendation of 54990.
Again, I'll take accountability for that, an error in missing those two very similar numbers on rows in the above table. Yes, you are correct. The narrative should include the numbers that are in the table.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McIntosh?
Can I have a couple of questions? The first one is on page 32. I did a quick tot-up of the reserve balances, and the total amount looks like it's about $13 million. And I have no feel as to whether that's a big number or not. In other words, the question is, in fact, are we behind on asset maintenance or not by virtue of the size of that figure? That's number one. And the second one is on the Clive River one, so that's 1.8, and as things stand at the moment, if it has to be done under new RMA required methodology, that's going to continue building for another 5 or 7 years before anything can be done. And do we have any of those examples that might affect other areas? Does that make sense?
So let's take Clive. So the question on Clive is we're collecting money for a specific purpose. That purpose has been delayed or changed, and we continue to collect money. So it's still below the planned cost of that activity. So is the question more we're over-collecting?
Now my question really is, that is a number that was reasonable when it was set, when the rate was set.
Yeah.
But RMA requirements mean, in fact, it's going to cost a whole lot more if those need to be adhered to.
Correct.
And are there other things within this that are affected by those sorts of things which make the numbers unreasonable?
So there are examples of changing practices that have increased costs. And so those costs have increased, those cost increases have exceeded the escalation put to those budgets. And so traditionally, we've operated a top-down budget where the budget is last year's budget plus CPI, and then we work through priorities.
Yep.
For this LTP, what we're wanting to do is build a bottom-up or an activity-based budget where we look at all the activities we need to do, we price them, and that delivers a number. So an example is where there's a material cost difference is in drain cleaning, where that used to be quite a simple process. We generally catch eels and other macroinvertebrates that are in there, and that's effectively doubled or tripled the cost of that function. So that's an example of some of our costs grow, and so that's not reflected in an activity-based budget. What it does is it displaces activities in a top-down budget. So this LTP, we want to go into an activity-based budget and price everything from first principles.
The answer was yes,
yeah,
by the sounds of it. Yes, we've been under budgeting for changing practices. Yeah.
Okay, the second part of the question was 13 million. Is that a big number to have outstanding? I don't have a feel.
It's relatively small. Remember, about $1 million of that. We've discussed how we use that for co-funding into major projects, and that sits in Heretaunga. And what we really need to do is work through, again, the unders and overs, and that will help with an activity-based budget to make sure we have the right budget in the right scheme. and so we're not over collecting or under collecting. It's not a huge amount, but we also want to make sure we put some limits in, and we shouldn't have more than a couple of years of operating budget in an operating reserve, because that would reflect that the planned maintenance is not being done as intended. So there's a bit of a clean-up process that, once again, is on the list of things to do. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Curtin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and if I could indulge you, there are two strands of questions that I'd like to ask, and perhaps pose the first and then come back to the later. And they are related to, and excuse the pun here, diving into the weeds, Chris, somewhat, because I'm very interested and appreciate his so-called SEAM program, which is excellent. So I was wanting to ask some questions about what that looks like, and then I've got some questions on the reserves, the way we constructed this, because there's a lot in this paper, and you've picked it up, Councillor, that we need to sort of unravel, and it's very important for us to get our head around this.
Let's go through SEAM and then see if there's other questions, and we'll come back.
If you don't mind.
We'll look at
Chris, I just wonder whether you could take us to paragraph 2, where you've outlined the SEAM program.
Yeah.
And you've identified maintenance requirements, etc. So obviously we've got, it seems as though, excuse the pun there again, we've got greater visibility than we ever had with this program. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah.
Why is it that we have now got greater visibility?
Yeah.
And how does it work?
Yeah. So what I can describe is the old Holden versus I don't know, a new EV or something. So we had what was fit for purpose historically, and that was built up through spreadsheets, paper-based maintenance plans, and some and some IT solutions that tracked work. And so none of those things were linked end to end. And so it was very easy to determine how much money we had spent through the finance system, but to determine whether we had spent the money on the right things at the right time was more challenging to work out. And you had to go into multiple systems, some of them being paper-based systems, some of them being spreadsheets on people's computers. And so that's how things, when you have a smaller organisation with smaller asset base, those systems work okay. And the SEAM project did two things, is it standardised the processes across asset management for how maintenance is done. So everyone had to do it exactly the same way, and it tracks maintenance from end to end. So it tracks it from the maintenance plan through to the execution. All of the assets are created in this enterprise system. All of the work orders attached to assets, and so we can get very good reporting on how often a piece of work should be done, how often the piece of work was actually done, and the cost associated with every asset. So it's brought us into the current thinking and what you'd expect from a large infrastructure organisation, and it's there's still more work to do with it, to optimise it, but it's certainly given us a lot more visibility about what is and what isn't done.
If you don't mind, Madam Chair, have we increased our actual visibility? I appreciate we've got line of sight on the work being carried out. Are we, for example, using drones to see what's going on in the channels? Is that something that's happening as a part of this SEAM project?
So SEAM allows for much better record keeping in that the condition of assets, again, is held against the asset. Staff can go into the system, see a map of the assets, they can dive into asset condition. We do use drones as part of our kit of doing work. We do have staff who are dedicated field staff who are out and about in the field all of the time. And some of that information is collected not necessarily through drones, but collected as an input to the planned maintenance.
Right.
So it's not like the system uses drones. People use drones as part of the process, but the database is a lot more powerful in that everyone has access to it. everything is brought back to the asset. All the assets are in the system.
Thank you. And finally, to round that one out, Madam Chair, would it be fair to say, and there's been obviously a lot of criticism of council around this issue in regard to the cyclone, that in fact, now that we've increased visibility, we actually weren't delivering the level of service we thought we were. Would that be fair or not?
I think that would be premature. I've provided some analysis over a short number of years, mainly post 2021. Certainly pre-2021, our budgets were a lot more healthy, and I'll just repeat, since 2021, we've applied an escalation of 5.7% to our operating budgets. That's 1% per year. CPI is about 18, construction index is in the low 20s. So we would need to expand, obviously, that analysis to come to that conclusion.
What we can say is this is partly why the scheme reviews were initiated back when they were, to deep dive into the levels of service and performance of all the schemes.
Absolutely. So if you recall, we initially had a 7 to 10 year period to do those scheme reviews. Post Gabriel, we've turbocharged that.
Yes.
And those scheme reviews were to look at, from a technical perspective, are we delivering the level of service we advertise? What is the likely impact of climate change in terms of the varying climate? And then what investments do we need to make or not to close the gap? And potentially what we're seeing is some of those scheme reviews are coming back with significant investments required to meet some of those levels of service, particularly as rainfall intensifies into the future.
Just to round out that conversation, would it be fair to say that SEAM's allowed us to collect the information, have more visibility, it's tidying up these urgent pieces that have been picked up, and that the lead-in now to the LTP will pick up the either changing to any of these schemes, delivery of service, or the increased investment that's going to be required over the 10-year plan coming. And we've asked the Chief Executive to bring back a conversation on 26, 27, just that in-between piece, to understand if we need to look at extra budget or other mechanisms in that space. That's a kind of rounding out of the whole, the pieces together. Yeah? Okay.
Correct.
Are you happy with the, yes, with the information on SEAM? Okay. Mr. Paku.
You just answered asked my question and answered my question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well done.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Councillor Parsons.
Just with SEAM, a couple of quick questions. So how long has SEAM been around? Was that since 2021?
Just only over the last couple of years. So
okay.
it's been in operate. It went live this financial year, so this is the first year that we've been using it.
Okay. And is there an opportunity with SEAM to involve the communities for that visibility? Or is it more about just the assets?
No, so SEAM is a couple of things. It's a maintenance management tool, so it's how we schedule and track all of our maintenance. The main thing communities might want to see is that the maintenance is complete, so it can do reports about that.
Yep.
I'd be mindful about the level of detail we want to generate and the effort it would take to provide all this reporting. So there's an appropriate level of analysis. Did the maintenance get done that was needed to be done? What's the level of outstanding maintenance? I wouldn't want to get down to necessarily a task because it would generate so much work. We'd need 3 people to service the level of inquiries and engagement with the community. And if that's what council want, that's okay, but I'm just highlighting that it comes with a resourcing.
It's probably the other way around that I'm thinking is their input that the community can have with things that they identify that needs maintained.
Absolutely. So that happens now. The community ring up. They want to report something. That creates a defect. Defect goes into the system, and then that defect is managed. And it will either get... So the team every week have a meeting between the strategic and operations teams. Which of those defects need to be done, which can be held back, and then do we end up with a bow wave of defects that we can't afford to fix, and then that would go into next year's budgeting process. So all of that stuff happens now. It's just happening every day behind the scenes, and it's a lot more improved than the old system, where it was, as I explained, it was disconnected. Now it's end to end, and we know where things are stuck, if they are stuck, and the reason why.
I mean, it sounds fantastic. My last question was just a phrase that I kept reading, and I just want a clarity on this one because I'm sure it's very simple. The reactive maintenance.
Yep.
Is that usually about an event that might have happened, so we have to react to that maintenance that wasn't scheduled, so it's repairs for damage or something like that? Or is it reactive because it hadn't been maintained, so we need to...
So planned or reactive is generally something's happened. So an example, you might have a pump that you take the pump out and service it once a year, and that's an appropriate planned maintenance activity. There's a bit of wet weather, or someone throws a trolley load of logs into the drain or into the waterway, and those logs get jammed in the impeller of the pump, and the pump no longer works. That's a reactive piece of work. So it's like your car. You service your car once a year. That's planned. Sometimes your car might break down for no apparent reason. That's unplanned. And our philosophy is to shift as much of the maintenance into the planned sphere, because that's when it's most cost effective.
Is there a budget for unplanned? Like, do you have a...
Generally, yes, because we know it's like the known unknowns. We know that there will be some. We know that we'll have wet weather events, but again, in an advanced organisation, you're trying to get that right down, and you can be quite specific about your reporting on your reactive maintenance and your reactive maintenance costs.
And by the way, I'm married to a mechanic, so there is no maintenance in our house.
Thank you. Last question, Councillor.
If I could just have a little flick at the financials here, and I think it's raised, I think Councillor Rodley's onto something here. This is probably a long-term plan discussion as well. And I go, for example, every time I come here I learn something new. 7.3, rivers and stream maintenance, 100% general rate, general fund. I hadn't quite appreciated that. Well, my question is maintenance a part of a scheme? I would have thought it would be incorporated into the scheme. Is it not?
Yes, so maintenance is part of a scheme. So when we talk about rivers and stream maintenance, we have some schemes that did rivers and streams maintenance. So ESC is an example, Prongaho is another example. We effectively do vegetation management within the stream. In the last Revenue and Finance Policy Review, those schemes went from targeted rate schemes to general rate schemes. So that was a decision of council to shift them because there was a whole lot of work to, for someone to pay $2 and someone to pay $5, and it was just from an efficiency perspective, that was the decision.
So there are rivers and streams maintenance. There are two strands of rivers and streams maintenance, internal to a scheme and ones that are not in an actual scheme itself.
So we don't maintain rivers that aren't in schemes. If I could make that quite clear, the Regional Council...
I know what you're asking.
Or am I missing the point there?
The point is, so we have the Hiratonga scheme.
Yep.
And it has its own 70-30.
Yep.
And that has maintenance in it.
Yep.
Then we have ESC, which is just a river and streams maintenance.
Yep.
What Councillor Curtin's asking is, so is the Hiratonga, which has its own scheme, does it also draw out of the river and schemes maintenance one?
No. No, so that's defined too.
Good to know.
Yep.
Just in terms of your 718,601, I don't know what that one is for parking meter. Is that, and this is as a result of more visibility from SEAM, is that likely now to find its way into baseline so that we are likely to see that additional level of expenditure that is indicated here find its way into the new 26, 27 budget.
So that's our intention, to do more of an activity-based budget.
Yes. Okay.
Build the budget, and so we are anticipating an increase on base.
That's good. And just to finalise that, as a consequence, and you're using reserves to do it, we've got a depletion of reserves. Does that place them in some jeopardy, which I think Councillor Roadley's going to, or cause some other effect? Do we need to consider our reserves thinking and policy around it? Because you've established a whole new baseline as a result.
So I think there's several pieces of work going on. One is a bit of a review of our reserves. What reserves should we have? How should they work? Should we have caps on reserves so we're not over collecting rates? And what are the guards around going into deficit? So there's a big piece of work going on that will come into the LTP decisions, I imagine. I think you raise a good issue. Taking reserves that are negative further into the negative creates a bigger problem to resolve. So that's a difficult decision. And ultimately, I would say some of our smaller schemes simply have insufficient funding to deliver the outcomes we state. And so it's for our staff who are out in the field talking to the community about these things, how do we set them up for success? And that's part of taking this paper here for a clear decision from council about whether we invest in those or we don't invest in those.
Sorry to do this to you, Madam Chair. Just finally on that, finally.
Finally, thank you.
In terms of that discussion and thinking around what to do with reserves, clearly if you reduce your reserve balance, you haven't got the earnings generated from the interest on those reserves feeding into the scheme. So we've got a compounding effect of deplenished reserves. Is that something that we're looking at?
That's not, apart from the odd reserve, like one of the forestry reserves, it's not the intention of the reserves to provide revenue. In a perfect world, the reserve balance would be close to zero because the rates being taken is very close to the rates being expended. So we'd be targeting, having 1 year's operating budget in a reserve is a good buffer, but going beyond that, you'd need to question whether you should be collecting the rates, and so that's what we're wanting to work through to put some guardrails around that.
Thank you for the questions, and I think we will pick up some of the funding issues from our Chief Executive, Councillor Curtin, around the 26-27 piece. Yes, Councillor McRoy, last question.
Madam Chair. There's a couple of things I just want clarity on, but we can go offline and you can explain if it's taken up any time. So it's eliminated my having two questions, asking for supplementary. I just want to sort of note that we just signed off on strategic priorities for 2026 to 2030, and the first priority was reducing flood risk and responding to a change in climate. So as I understand, and in your report, if you don't do that, people will possibly be flooded. Also to note, a lot of these schemes are connected to significant wetlands. It's not just about the drainage as well. So a lot of these places are spawning areas. They contain our taonga, our biodiversity, and they also have a purpose in that respect. So, kia ora.
It sounds like you're speaking in support, Councillor McAvoy. Would you like to move the paper?
Yes.
Excellent. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Parsons, moving 1 to 3, approving the options of the additional budget through operating reserves and from the general funding. That's what you're moving and seconding. Would you like to speak again, Councillor McAvoy?
I would do so. No,
Councillor Parsons, would you like to make any more comments? Any further comments?
Yes.
Councillor Broadley.
Thank you, Chair. I would actually like to speak against the motion on the table.
Sure.
Can I do that now?
Yes.
The concern that I still have is that we don't fully understand the implications of this. And Chris, your comments around setting for success resonate with me, and I don't feel that we're on a trajectory to do that and to understand that properly. I think Councillor Curtin has also signalled his discomfort, and I actually I would be comfortable to support the motion if it had some clever wording that I'm sure staff can provide, that left it subject to further information being provided by the CE, that explored and provided better understanding of the implications of the spend and what it does to our ability to provide that service that our community actually need and want. And I think there's a political piece in here that's beyond what we're seeing here today. So I'm looking to you, Leanne. Yeah, I'm actually going to vote against. I would be supporting option 2.
Are you, Councillor Roadley, offering an amendment that you would like to
Am I allowed to amend the motion?
You can suggest it and ask if the mover and the seconder will accept that, and you'll need a...
So yes, I am formally asking that you would consider option 2, which is a very similar, and if I take your attention to, I'm quickly scrolling to the numbers, it's like 70, here it is, 76.4 through to 76.7. The final piece there is council further provides direction to staff on how any remaining funding pressures could be managed, and I'm would encourage the additional wording there after further information is provided by CE as through the annual plan process or some such like. I'm not very good at wordsmithing on the fly.
So for clarity, you're asking for 76.7 to be moved up into option 1?
Well, the implication is that 76.5 changes the funding, the numbers there. Mm-hmm. So it's similar, but the numbers are different. So it actually is full option 2.
So, yeah, sorry, through you, Chair, that is actually changing it completely and not going with option 1, it's going with option 2.
Yes.
So it's not an amendment, it would be a different resolution.
So you're foreshadowing if this motion failed, you would look to move
I would like to put on the
2.
table option 2.
Or you could look to add different words to option 1, that there is approval on the basis that we would have further information.
No, because the numbers are different.
So
I'd like
not
to
happy
signal.
with the numbers.
I'd like to signal that if this motion did fail, that I would put on the table option 2. 1 and 2 of the motion I'm happy with. Number 3 would switch out to read option 2 and all the implications that follow with option 2.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Could you speak to that, please?
I just might ask Mr. Dolly to clarify. I think wherever council lands, and we'll absolutely take your decisions there, and happy to bring information back. There's an operating piece in here that if we're going to do the work, that you kind of have to get on with it before the end of the year. So I think there's maybe 2 things at play here: is further information for the annual plan, some really big decisions coming for your LTP, and attention to do the operating work at whatever level council decides in the next few months while the conditions.
Correct. With respect, Mr. Chief Executive, we are looking at actual funding. I don't understand if those reserves are backed by cash and if we're not actually digging ourselves into a wee hole before we even launch into those big discussions. So perhaps just a wee pause to understand that financial piece, Chris, would be really helpful.
Totally.
And I'm sure we could do that offline and have it through reasonably promptly with your blessing.
So just to make to reinforce, I think what the Chief Executive was saying, where there might be a decision that we need to do more work for a particular scheme, that decision puts at risk our ability to do that work. For example, spraying effectively needs to be done now. The team is poised to press the button for the spraying contractors to go out, because if we miss this month for spraying, then we've missed the season for spraying, for example. So I'm just highlighting there's only 4 months left of the financial year. And so just to manage expectations, if there was a concern about funding a particular scheme, then a decision for more information will defer that maintenance into next financial year, which will change the amount of the ask for that scheme.
Thank you. So just so everyone understands where we're at, we have option 1 on the table with a mover and a seconder, and someone's spoken against that and foreshadowed that they would look to option 2. Do we have any more speakers for or against? Councillor Curtin?
Well, look, I'm just wanting to pick up on Councillor Rodey's concern and perhaps ask a question, if you don't mind, Madam Chair. I think the concern is for a drawdown on reserves already in deficit. I think Councillor Rodey's concern gets to the point, will a further drawdown and further deficit jeopardise that scheme and make it impossible to recover, and then subsequently requiring general tax ratepayer contribution to right it?
I'm going to step in there. So the option on the table came with an action point that the Chief Executive would bring back to us information on the implications for 26-27 as we work towards long-term plan, and as I understand it, that is what we asked for and would see through that piece of work. So
I appreciate that. I'm just trying to get Councillor Rodley over the line on this.
We probably need to run the first motion to the ground, and then we'll see if there's a discussion to be had, maybe.
Well, I will speak in support of the option on the table with the action point that's associated with it, simply because I think we are clear in our priority on flood resilience, and this work has been identified as urgent. How we manage the financial piece at the end is something we often do with a number of pieces of work, thinking of river openings, and we flagged that we want to understand that better, but it does mean that this work can continue immediately, so it's why I will be supporting the recommendation.
So, Chair, is that option 1 that you're... Okay.
With an action point that the Chief Executive is bringing back some information on implications for year 26-27.
Can I speak also to it, Madam Chair, just to support what you're saying?
You may. But it's probably the last comment.
Oh, is it? Thank you. Sorry about that. Sorry to do this to you. But look, this is very, very important work, and I'm very pleased to see you brought it through. But there's a good news story in here, given the flack that we've come under, that we are on to this. This is work that must take place. We've got to do it. We've got to do it now. So that's why it's inevitable to support, from my perspective, option 1. But I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Rodley's point that it deserves a significant focus on, is this sustainable going forward? And given where we're heading in the future, we need a lot more hygiene around this so that we're handing something over to wherever that's in really good shape and well structured. So that's why this is important work.
Good, thank you. Councillor Curtin, any other comments before we put the motion?
I just speak in support of it too. I think that, unless I'm missing something here, the point that I would note is that my take on it is this is actually just normal. You know, there's a whole lot of stuff that we're maintaining here, such as what's listed on page 32. And, you know, of course there are going to be circumstances where the amount that you have budgeted for something is less than what's going to be required. You've got to deal with that in future. But I don't share Councillor Rodley's concern on that, because I think that's our business. We're always going to be in those situations.
Thank you. No further comments, so we're going to put option 1 to the vote. Everyone's clear on what we're voting on? Yes? Right. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Against. Councillor Rodley, you'd like that noted? Councillor Rodley, thank you. That motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Chris and Megan. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thank you, Councillor Rodley, for your words of caution. Item 5.5, adoption of the 25-28 Triennial Agreement.
Through you, Madam Chair. Triennial Agreement is a statutory document that is put together at the beginning of every triennium and covers essentially the requirements of the Local Government Act and how councils are going to work together. the constituent councils of Hawke's Bay and our colleagues who have small parts of the region, I think in Taupo and Rangitikei, are all going through the process of adopting the Triennial Agreement over the next couple of weeks. It was provided to the mayors and chairs table for feedback. There has been none, and I think Napier City adopted it yesterday. So really here for your consideration. Probably the one thing it does this year is it formalises the terms of reference for the mayors and chairs and makes that public and locks that into a public document. So happy to take questions, either myself or Ms Cole, who put it together.
Thank you. And yes, thank you, Ms Cole. Just noting that we did have this in public workshop yesterday and have some discussions there as well. So there may be further questions, but Ms Cole, would you like to make any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that this is based on the Triennial Agreement from last term as the base document, and then stripped back to keep it as simple as possible and fit for the future with reform coming. And that just enables us to, because every time you make a change, it has to go around the 6 councils again. So we've gone for the KISS approach, keep it simple.
Thank you. Just to be absolutely clear, if we make any changes, even a few words, then it needs to go back to all councils is the point, even if they're very small changes. Any questions? Thank you. Councillor Ormsby.
Kia ora, Desi. Short and sweet? What did you say?
No, I said...
Oh, no.
No, I said Councillor Ormsby. No, you may
cool.
have many questions.
I've got 3, is that okay?
Certainly.
The first one is around the map, and I just wonder, could there be value added by adding catchments that would reflect the regional council's areas of working within and how we see our region and the environment? So that's more just a suggestion to add catchments in there. Secondly, look, it talks a lot around the LGA, but a forum such as this that is improving the secretariat function, which I see in the terms of reference, would that also include the Lagoima and the ability for reporting to take place and be shared, especially with councillors? And that was a discussion that we had last term, that we improve that accountability and transparency back to councillors as well as to the public who are interested, and it be public included, given it's ratepayers' money that really runs this forum.
Through you, Chair, that very matter was discussed by the mayors and chairs on Monday. They were advised by the CEs that all of those discussions are subject to Lagoima, and that there would be minutes and actions taken and circulated and made available publicly and to the constituent councils.
Perfect. So it's already part of the work programme.
It's been action.
Great. Good to hear. And also just wanted to ask about the purpose of Section 5, which talks to regional council and regional council CCO activities. Could you just give us the context of that new section?
So that's on page 4 of the agreement, is that right? So under section 15 of the Local Government Act, it's quite prescribed what you have to have in a triennial agreement, and you have to have a statement on how regional councils would go about the process to take on a significant new activity. So
why is it specifically related to Hawke's Bay Regional Council, not all councils?
It isn't. It is both, but it is actually the same section that was in last time. It just removes. It had quite a high. It required us to give notice of 40 working days, and we've taken that out. That was a bar that was above and beyond what was in the legislation. So we have taken that out and just left the statement.
I guess what I'm asking, Chair, is why is the regional council targeted and not all councils? Because it's specifically for Hawke's Bay Regional Council.
Yeah. I don't think that's the intent. I think, yeah.
Through you, Chair, my understanding is that it's the requirement of the legislation that the regional council does this piece of work because our geographic spread covers the other TAs.
Right,
whereas
okay.
the TAs don't cover each other, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And we may start an activity that had implications on TAs in different ways, so we are formally required to give them notice if we are looking to propose a significant new activity.
Right, and it's not there because of recent government announcements.
It's a standard clause.
No.
Yeah, it is a standard
Okay,
clause.
just wanted to check that. Thank you.
And that really just reiterates that we would follow what's in the legislation.
Thank you, Councillor Ormsby. Your comment on adding catchments would require that to go back to all councils, even those who have adopted. So are you thinking that's critical?
I think we can move in principle the recommendations with the suggestion to add catchments to the maps if the forum agrees that. So I don't want to hold up the process, what I'm saying, but I think it would add value, if agreeable.
Take it back to the council.
Yes, so if we did do that and make that suggestion, it would need to go back formally to every council, i.e. Napier adopted yesterday. It would need to go back to them again in a formal meeting to re-ratify that with the change of the one word.
I'm not sure if that's worth it then.
So, yeah, and we have a deadline of 1st of March, so I think it was a good suggestion, but probably impractical. Yeah.
It is actually quite hard to read that map, so maybe we could improve the map.
Yes. It would be a good idea.
Yes.
It's a good idea.
There you go.
Thank you.
Upgrade
it with catchments in it.
Thank you. We're looking to receive the report and adopt the regional triennial agreement. Have I got a mover for that? Councillor Hornsby, thank you. Councillor McIntosh, any other comments? Any speakers? No. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carry. Thank you. Thank you, Desiree. Affixing of the common seal, item 5.6. This is a staff warrant. Are there any questions on that? No. Happy to move from the chair. Councillor Hawke, happy to second. Any comments? No. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carry. Thank you. Information, future of the Kairakau Community Scheme 6.1. Chris is back with us.
Thank you. I've got the other Chris and Megan to support. So thank you, Chair. So this is an unusual sort of paper. It's an information paper, really informing Council of our intended pathway forward, and happy to receive any feedback around that pathway. So as outlined in the paper, there was a community scheme established back in 2012 to assist the community in maintaining some local infrastructure, which I understand is a river retaining wall and some erosion control infrastructure. So the purpose was that the council was the rate collector. It had an ability to collect a rate, and it collected that rate on behalf of the community, and the community made all of the decisions on how that rate would be spent. And as part of the MOU, there was to be no overheads or other charges applied to that process from the regional council. So that worked well for a while, and then when we reviewed the revenue and finance policy, we looked at a lot of our small schemes, shifting them into a general rate arrangement. So that decision was made. Post that decision, the community approached the team and expressed that for them that arrangement didn't work because there was no longer a reserve that could collect that money over several years and then be used for a particular purpose. So we said we'd bring it to this table and then consult with the community, engage with the community about a pathway forward. Subsequently, also, we've been advised through our legal team under the Rating Act, that because we're not actually providing any services or we're not providing an activity, it's not appropriate for us to be rating people. And so there's really other alternatives of how that community can collect those funds and as a community decide how they use them. So that's the conversation we really want to have with that community. Is the Regional Council the best mechanism? So yes, we've got a strong opportunity to collect a rate that everyone must pay, but there might be other opportunities for the community to run that process. So we intend to engage directly with the community in a small targeted process and then work through and bring a decision paper back on the way forward, I think is the way to summarise the paper, and sort of happy to...
And thank you for bringing the paper before the conversation having with the community. We appreciate that. We've been asking for that as a process, so we appreciate that. Are there questions? Councillor Roadley.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Comer, maybe I've missed it in the paper, but is there a reserve, an historical balance in that reserve that's sitting somewhere? Is there some cash somewhere?
Yeah, there's currently a historical balance just under $80,000 in that reserve. That would be part of the discussions and engagement with the community as to how that was dealt with as we decided on the way forward with them.
Great. That's music to my ears. The second piece is we will continue to walk alongside this community as they navigate this through this MOU. You'll be establishing that with that community, and we'll be right there helping them through this process, albeit it might not land back at our table.
Correct. So that's our intention, to engage with that community and explore the best way to go forward, and then ultimately we'll bring a decision back to this table.
Right. Thank you. Great piece of work, team.
Councillor McIntosh? No. Any particular comments from our councillors there, Councillor Hawke or Councillor Kuklinski? Did you have anything particular to add?
I was wondering if you've had any initial discussions with the Central Hawke's Bay District Council.
So not specifically, yes, we wanted to bring it to this table that we were going to engage or commence this process, and then we'll have a chat with the Central Hawke's Bay about whether they want to be involved. I imagine they would have similar issues around the rating context, but we certainly want them to be aware of the piece of work that is occurring.
Thank you.
Just a quick one in through you, Chair. Tai Whenua Tamatea would be very interested in a conversation in and around this, because across that particular catchment relating to other kaitiaki space or those, gazetted tangata kaitiaki for that area, Kairakau, Pātangata, Paurere, all that space. It'll be good to sort of get some insight into that as well.
Kia ora, thank you. Any other questions? No? Happy to move the recommendation. Councillor Hawke? Yes, thank you. Someone second? Happy to second. Thank you, Councillor Roadley. Any other comments? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Is it lunchtime?
It's going to take 5 minutes.
Yeah, we could. Let's move forward the NIWE paper. We might go a little bit over, but we can balance that up on the other side as James is here. Is everyone happy with that? Great. Item 6.2. Welcome, James.
You want it?
Kia ora.
Hopefully we can give you all the gift of time today. Thank you very much for the time as always. Andrew does send his apologies. He is an unavoidable clash today, this month. However, we will have him in front of us for next month. Obviously, it's his last one. So taking the paper as read, I'll just run through a few sort of high-level pieces and do my best Andrew impression to give you so look, the good news is that we have all of our OIC consents as of the 24th when Wairoa came through, which is just a fantastic result. That leaves us with just the 3 levels of service projects that will go through the normal RMA process of consent. We are just working through an updated national policy statement around an infrastructure definition with the HBR consents team, but we do have a path forward on that, and we expect to have a resolution and have that consent lodged by the end of this month. We do have had one of the levels of service project we are to tender, so we are progressing that forward with multiple work streams as we have done across the continuation of the program. Our funding is in a very good place. We continue to have very favourable market conditions for our contractors coming back to tender. Obviously, as we come to the close of that process, but for the tenders that we are still left to go out to market, we do expect those to continue to work in our favour. As a result, the budget is looking very healthy, and our funding process with NIWE remains in a robust place as well. So we are keeping our cash flow as tight as possible. Just going through a project by project quick summary. I will try not to repeat what's already in the paper, but obviously conscious the time delay between what happens today on a ever-changing program like this versus what was in the paper as of a couple of weeks ago. On the telemetry space, our extension of time has been granted through NIWE, so we have that until December at the end of this year, and that will be delivering more work for the same amount of money, which gives increased resilience to the community as a result. So that's one of our great talking points, that one. For our schemes project, we remain on track to finish that in April, and that will be on budget as well. Moving into our projects in construction, Waiheke is on track to finish towards the end of April. That project remains on budget as well, so we'll be looking to have a sort of closeout ceremony through April, and hopefully, as that, along with Ohiti being the first of our land cap projects, we'll be able to get some publicity and some people coming down to get the photo taken as well. Whirinaki, we were able to process the land category change just before the third anniversary a couple of weeks back, and I'm told that was very well received by the community. So that was obviously a fantastic result. State Highway 2 work, we are forecasting to have that finished on time and under budget, and that's also without having to touch too much the contingency, so that's a very positive result. Our stop bank work out in Whirinaki has begun with Tapori as the contractor out there. We are still finalising the design for the Panpack log yard piece. Ran into some challenges there, but we think we have a workable design there. We were also out there on site last week, just working through with the Panpack team and the complexities around the traffic movements, etc. But we continue to make good progress, and with construction now having started, we'll be able to get into that regular cadence and provide meaningful updates on how that tracks. Ohiti, so the final land signature is imminent, and this will allow us to award the final portion of that contract, and that will also allow us to process the land category change. So we expect that hopefully within the next couple of days, and it will allow us to move on a good set of items there. Otherwise, that continues to track on time and on budget. As I did note, there was obviously a very specific incident, as noted in the paper. The individuals were all sort of offered support, and we've been able to return, without sounding callous, return to work, and we have been able to keep the project on schedule despite that incident as well. In terms of our pump stations, design is well underway on that project. We're expecting program and cash forecasts update through the end of this week, just to make sure that we'll be on time to deliver that by June 2027. Just in terms of the length of time for that one, we are just a little bit nervous about that. The amount of time it took for us to get that contract signed, just due to the amount of tags, just has given us some slippage. But we are working very closely with Brian Perry Civil to be able to bring that timeline back. So we do expect practical completion to be completed by the end of June 2027. Transitioning to our remaining projects who are still working into or up to the construction phase. I mentioned the levels of service projects, so we have that consent issue. Brookfields, as mentioned, the tender evaluation has been undertaken. We're hoping to send Omahu out to tender next week. And the following week will be the last under that current umbrella with the Waipawa project. So they do continue to progress. On Parongaho, we are pending the final private land signature. That will allow us to then proceed through the Gate 2 review with NIWE. There are still a handful of Crown-owned properties down there that we do not have a formal signature for. However, they have indicated to us they have no issues with the proposed agreements with them, and it's more just a matter of fact going through the process. We're working well with Galbraith down there in terms of working through the construction contract, getting that in place, and we do expect work to begin shortly next month. So barring that signature coming through, we continue to be in a very good space down there as well. Wairoa, as mentioned, the consent, which was just a great one to get over the line. We're currently working on a staged design package delivery. Now this will basically order us to break the project up into sort of separable portions, similar that we have around other projects, that we'll be able to start a winter works package, hopefully south of Waihuiri Road, which will allow us to remain on track to deliver that project by June 2027. We'll also be working that through with NIWE tomorrow when we have our monthly meeting with them, but that will be critical to have them on board with us in order to make those construction timelines, or else we may face delays there. But more to come on that one. Lastly, but certainly not leastly, the Pakawhai projects. So we've had quite a bit of going on here. We have completed the northern portion of the tender, and so we now have Hicks Bros has also been confirmed as the preferred tender for north as well as south. So this is going to allow us to essentially move forward with that as a single contract, which will make that a lot easier both for ourselves and for Hicks, assuming we get there with them. We do have the PM, Harry Donnelly. He finishes up with us today, but we have a senior PM that we brought in, Richard Jardine, who has a wealth of experience, and he's poised to take that over. We actually did a footprint walkover yesterday, so we had about a dozen of us, both from HBRC, design team, and also the contractors. We walked the 8.5 kilometre length of the stop bank, just identifying all the properties, working with the property owners, what needs to happen there. So we remain on track to start construction on the 30th of March. We are under an intense amount of pressure to deliver the required land access deals by that time. This is, as noted in the paper, probably our biggest point of risk at this time, to ensure that we have those remaining land deals completed, one of which is obviously JFCT, which we've talked to you about, but there is a number of individual landowner agreements which we are pushing as much as we can, while obviously wanting to maintain very positive relationships given the length of time that this project will be going for. So I'd say that's the key thing that myself and Andrew are certainly focused on over the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's the end of sort of the project update. The other piece, as outlined in the paper, is obviously the resourcing update as well. As alluded to, we have a couple of projects that we will be completing over the next 2 to 3 months. And as our resource requirement obviously peers down in relation to the work, it was to let council know that we have the unfortunate requirement of just right-sizing our workforce to ensure that they remain on par as we go through this process. That is it from me. Obviously a brief overview, but hopefully just augmenting what was already in the paper. Happy to take any questions.
Kia ora. Thank you, James. And I think Andrew was going to speak a little bit too. As we know, Andrew's coming to the end of his contract here and his passing over to James. So we will be welcoming you next time formally into that position. So we're really pleased to see you, pleased to hear that the project manager position's been filled as well. That's great. Thank you for an excellent paper. I'm sure there's questions. Thank you, Councillor Waitoa.
Kia ora, James. Thank you, Chair. It's an administration question, and it came up in 5.4, but it's something that I think if we could look at when we're reporting, because page 58, table 1, the actual spend to date is 50.687 million, but in the executive summary, it's 50.7 million. I make the point because when we're talking in the millions, as you would know, and it'd be good, councillors may not know, when we look at that nearest to the 0.1 million, the nearest is 100,000. And so for me, when I'm looking at the tables and going through all of our figures, we're looking at 13,000 that we're off. So probably for me is if we could maybe look at ensuring that we are not rounding our figures when we're in, especially when we're in the millions. It's a big figure for me to calculate and spend a bit of time. So, and if we looked at it, 13,000 every meeting, 12 meetings in the year, it's 156,000 we're out. So just want to make a comment, but more of a round of an administration there on that.
Yep, through you, Chair, absolutely no problem at all, Councillor. We will we'll use exact figures going forward. It's really more of a readability issue other than anything else. But we'll do that.
Good, thank you for that, Councillor Waitoa. Councillor Ormsby.
Thank you, Chair. Kia ora, James. This is more of an operational question and a risk to project progress, and it's with the cultural monitors across our projects. And is that high risk at the moment in terms of having those cultural monitors there to progress and assist the work?
Through you, Chair, that part of our resourcing remains untouched. That is, we have outsource and in-source resources that we use for that, and that has not been affected by our recent changes. That is I would say, a mandatory resource that cannot be touched through the project completion, and so that remains in place with no concerns.
Okay, and can you speak to the non-financial side around the capability and capacity for cultural monitors on these projects?
Sure, I would happy to also, we can connect you with our engagement lead, Jackie, as well. But from the feedback that I have heard, yeah, sorry, I've got a volunteer.
Welcome to Wairama.
And this is under the health of the project moving forward? Yeah.
Thank you, James. Through you, Chair. We have Māori Partnerships staff supporting our external support resources for cultural monitoring at the moment. We are in a position where capacity of tangata whenua, mana whenua to participate in cultural monitoring is stretched at the moment, but I believe that we have recently had a hui across cultural monitors for the region to see how can we utilise a network more to fill some of the gaps where we have capacity issues at the moment. So we're feeling quite confident that there are solutions for us to move forward with regards to capacity strains on cultural monitoring resource. We also have reached into inquire around networks such as environmental agencies like Te Pā to see if there's opportunities for them to support some of the backfilling of capacity at the moment.
Okay, so there's a plan B. Yeah. Kapai. And just to confirm, tomorrow the Poranga Hou blessing is to Karakia is tomorrow morning for the start of the work. Yes. Thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Ormsby. Do we think it would be useful to add a paragraph into the reporting simply on the cultural piece for each scheme, or as a general?
Just a general might be good.
I think it would be good, yeah.
Yeah, just
It's
so
probably under key
overview.
Risks or overview. I just think it would be good to have an update, and then if a specific issue comes up, it can be picked up within the scheme itself. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Councillor Parsons?
Just because I'm new, probably, can you explain what cultural monitoring covers, please? Somebody?
Yes, Te Wairama. Both of them.
So as part of our requirements through construction, we have several different aspects, and sorry, I'm just going to take a bit of a broader spectrum. We have under an umbrella of plans that we deliver. We have things like our SSSP, which is our health and safety plan. We have a quality management plan, a testing plan, a archaeological plan, and another one is a cultural advisory plan. So all of these aspects wrap up into our construction management plan. It covers off, obviously, a large variety of scenarios, from your accidental discovery of potential remains through what you do if someone drops a hammer on their foot. And all of these pieces have a very vital part to play, ensuring that we are following all requirements as dictated in the consents, going back to that space, but also that we are taking the necessary precautions and treatment of the land and the whenua that we are dealing with.
Thank you. Councillor Hawke.
Thanks, Chair. Through you, thanks for that update, James and Chris. Just in the key risk there, notwithstanding this progress, land access remains elevated at Poranga, where all the southern side properties are whenua Māori land, and just noting that some complex legal processes and uncertain timelines. I know there's been 2 or 3 hui with landowners out there, in particular the land that kind of runs hard up against the awa there, and I guess it would be good if I could be included in some conversations in and around it, because I think it would be we could probably progress things reasonably quick, and it's just untangling the jargon stuff that's in there and what it means for the landowners through there, because there's multiple landowners across that, and to get to that easement.
Yeah. Yes, through you, Chair. Thank you very much, Councillor. I'll definitely be able to plug you into that. As a sort of a supplementary comment, we have been working through the optioneering on what we are able to provide on the south side properties. So we still have to just tidy that up before we making obviously any final decisions. That will impact obviously what we require from the landowners. So there's elements of house raising, but there's also looking at do we need to put some bunds, swales, and a few things like that. But any assistance will greatly be appreciated, and I'll pass that on. So thank you very much.
Great. Further questions? Do we have a mover and a seconder for receiving and noting the NIWE? Thank you, Councillor Waitoa. Thank you, Councillor Parsons. Do you want to make any further comments? Any other?
I'd like to make a comment just to say congratulations and thank you from the community that I come from, because it was received very, very well, and we can see the work happening at speed. It's not often that you read under budget on time, and I read that quite often, so that's amazing. So well done.
Credit to the team. It's a lot of peddling, as I mentioned, several different work streams going at once, but we remain good at just-in-time management.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor
Rautaki. Thank you. Yes, I'd just like to also commend you on the work, both of what you've achieved, but also the way that you're approaching the work still to come. I appreciate particularly in Wairoa your clever thinking around how we keep the project moving across the seasons. And the challenges that you've surmounted to keep it on track for delivery next year. So you appreciate the work that you and the team are doing. You too, Chris.
Absolutely, pass that on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you. We're going to move into public excluded before lunch. Then we'll go to lunch and come back for our last paper. There's the reasons clear there. Are there any questions on why we're moving into public excluded? No? I'm happy to move that from the chair. Didn't see you, Mr. Hawke.
For those that are listening or will listen to this broadcast, it might be nice for them to know why we're moving into public exclusion.
Yes, I'll ask our governance team to speak to that.
Thank you. Yes, so the reason we are moving to public excluded is because we are talking about appointments of people, and it's to protect their privacy, not being made public.
Before a decision is made.
Before any decisions are made, yeah.
Comfortable there? Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to move from chair. Councillor Waitoa, did you second me? Yes. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Let's go to lunch. Councillor McElroy, would you be willing to bless our lunch for us?
Oh, I thought you said after.
I said we will move into public